Well, multi-award-winning creative, director, playwright and performer Napo Masheane will officially be curating a local first with HerStory International Theatre Festival. The festival is Masheane's brainchild with Village Gossip Productions to bring to life not only the vision but amplifying voices of women creatives across the world. HerStory International Theatre Festival is another way to further reshape and remold women's stories as interpreted by women for women with women in mind. The festival is a celebration of the great power of women, and it is by design to have it in August, the Women's Month. The 17th Women Artistry will be bringing together a series of 50 creative works, dialogues, drama, poetry, comedy, music, dance, and masterclasses at the Soweto Theatre. Napo Masheane joins us now to tell us more about HerStory International Theatre Festival. Napo, thank you so much, of course, for joining us on our show. Do talk to us, about the inception of the HerStory International Theatre Festival. I mean, why was it such a burning desire to make sure that you bring it to all South Africans?
Thank you so much for having me. I think because most of the festivals and theatres have been closed for the past 2 years, during COVID. So a lot of us as theatre makers across the world, we've been chatting and trying to find ways of reigniting the theatre spark back into our different cities, provinces and countries. So, a couple of my friends from all over the world, called me out to say, hey, how about you also do a women's festival? You've done so much for women in theatre in South Africa and the world. How about you become part of our sister friends links and, in terms of this particular festival? So I was called out, and I must say that I really took on the bait and really championed this particular festival.
Yeah, no, definitely. The nice thing about this festival is that we've seen a number of creative works come back to the fore now that we've seen a bit of a receding when it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic. But your particular theatre is trying to do something very specific and something very intentional, that reclaiming of spaces for women creatives, women performers. Why is it so important to highlight this particular sector of our society, this particular demographic of our society?
I think the theme of the festival says it, out loud, that we are rising from trauma. So many of us across the world, and in particular in South Africa and the continent, have lost so many colleagues, and we've been battling with mental illness during the lockdown restrictions, and understandably so. But it was very important for me as a storyteller to say we need to go back into using our different art forms to rise from trauma, to heal. But not only that, to also again replant the seeds of young creatives who would want to, follow this career, this particular field, without feeling like there are, there's no hope for us. So I suppose it's us to engage with each other, to share, but also to reinstill the love and the passion that we have as Africans, and in particular as women, and those who also identify as women back into center stages, and in this particular instant at the Soweto Theatre, which is also celebrating 10 years.
In your own capacity, Nabe, you're a writer, performer, a playwright. There's so many roles that you fulfill when it comes to the world of creativity. Talk to us about the power of shared stories, the power of finding yourself not as a singular entity, but as someone who's part of a collective, and how that, just generally helps, in this case, foster that kind of healing that you were talking about from the trauma that a lot of South Africans have endured, and other countries around the world, really, yeah.
I often talk about Artistic Bank, and often when I teach, I'm currently doing an amazing project with Department of Higher Education as well, as a master champion for drama and poetry. And every time I go and talk to young people about theatre, I'm saying, you can't, as a storyteller, as a poet, as a dancer, be in isolation. It's one thing to write, it's one thing to perform, but who you perform for is also something that feeds you back and heals you as an artist. I think most of us, we battling with mental illness as performers because, we're not not meant to sing for ourselves. We're not meant to perform for ourselves. We're meant to share and reflect society. And when society embraces and affirms us, it feeds us back. And I think that sort of gives us a sense of a communal kind of spirit. And I mean, it's an African principle. African theater is meant to be shared. It's a call and response, whether we're playing games, whether we're singing, whether we're dancing. You know, somebody has to clap, somebody has to ululate. That's how our theater as Africans has always been. So this particular sense of us going back to the stage, reclaiming it, and taking that, center position and platform really says that I am because you are because I am. Our storytelling is storytelling when I say, Baga ine iri, and everybody says, oh, ye, and then the story begins.
Incredible. I mean, talking about that communal spirit, the African sort of very specific characteristic when it comes to theatre, is so special. And it's great that the festival is attempting to share that. But I know that there are collaborations with other countries, so do talk to us about that, and how they all got involved in telling their stories and in ensuring that their stories are heard even here at home.
We definitely have so far, and for this particular year, 17 countries. So we've got amazing sister friends, and everybody, when they say, what kind of people are coming? I'm like, imagine Napo Masheane times 50, and these are sister friends, exactly. I think that's the best way, because these are scholars, these are professionals, these are festival curators, artistic directors, but also these are mothers and sisters and amazing human beings who are doing profound and very prolific work within their own communities. And these are sister friends from the Caribbean. We've got Jamaica, we've got Haiti, of course the diaspora, African-American friends of mine, which is one of our biggest delegation. We also have an amazing, huge delegation from Sweden, we've got UK, we've got Nigeria, we've got Lesotho, Botswana, Zambia, Namibia, and really for me, I went back to my artistic bank and said, hey everybody, we are rising from this trauma, we've been chatting for the past year, finally, can we give back and reposition her story into history? And you know what? I feel so blessed and so honored that all of them said yes. Along my other colleagues and peers in South Africa, 150 of them are also going to come and grace the stage, performing and sharing and giving of their art through poetry, comedy, dance, and really drama. And also, more than anything, giving master classes in different communities in Alexander and in Soweto.
Now, Napo, a lot of times when people hear, titles such as Her Story, Reclaiming Spaces, there's a feeling of exclusion. That's never obviously the case, but that's always what's projected. And I wonder if, the theatre is actually open to all genders, all identities across the spectrum. You don't have to identify as a woman or anything of the sort to feel welcome in that space, because really, as you've mentioned already, it is about sharing human stories and human tales of healing coming out of this very traumatic, 2 to 3 years that we've all experienced.
No, definitely. In terms of our audience and the target market for, learners and students who are going to, be benefiting from the master classes is all, gender-based kind of like, references. However, I think it's very important for us as women theatre makers not to be apologetic about reclaiming spaces and taking and recreating those spaces for other women. So I'm very intentional in making sure that from, technical to the management side, to front of house, to all the creatives that are going to be part of this and presenting work, that it's women, by women, with women, or those who identify as women, because we need those kind of spaces that are very safe for us, where we can engage, hold each other accountable, but also showcase that also women can work together, from lighting designers to set designers to publicists to directors. Women can work together, including all of us who are dramatic performers. We can really work together. But in terms of the audiences are very diverse. And I need to say as well that, we've got a huge support of brotherhood that's holding our hand and making sure that, we can enjoy ourselves, but also we can really show off our art without thinking about a child, babysitting, cooking, doing all these things. There's really this spotlight this time around is for us, by us, with us, in terms of the audience and the students and the footprint that comes to the theatre.
Well, Napo, thank you so much for coming onto the program today to tell us more about the festival, which is, of course, taking place in the month of August.